name is Neal. 2013, in the spring, I got invited to southern Guatemala by some missionary friends. They asked me to come down and to see the area and to meet the people and to see maybe what God would show me through my eyes, to maybe be involved in some ministry projects there. And for 9 days, I was guided through some rugged terrain, very steep, rocky. Frankly, my lungs screamed at me most of the time I was there, and got to meet a lot of beautiful people, people that were beyond poor that we see here in the States. I got to eat with them in their home, and it always amazed me they wanted to give me their very best, even if that meant food they normally wouldn't eat, or they'd borrow from somebody to feed me. And every meal was corn tortillas and beans, black beans, sometimes rice if they had it, and just fell in love with the people. I watched how they grew their food, corn and beans, in very rugged, steep terrain that you and I wouldn't even think about planting on, but it was all they have, and that was their complete way of life and sustenance. I began to meet people who, frankly, were poorer than I could imagine. We have so much to be grateful for. They don't even have enough to eat. They don't even have enough clean water. Many times they don't have any water. People, if they have a job, it's minimal. Many times it's just growing food for them to eat and selling the extra. And when the crops aren't good, they have no money whatsoever. And I asked one family how much corn did it take per year for them to survive. And this family grew corn on 2 acres of land. And he said they needed 2,500 pounds a year, about 25 bags to survive. And I asked him how the crop was, and he said it wasn't good at all. And so I said, how much? And he said, well, this year we got 2,000 pounds of corn. So not only did they not have enough food to eat for the year, they didn't have any leftover grain to be able to sell to purchase other things that they needed. They couldn't buy clothes. They couldn't send their kids to school because you have to pay to send your kids to school there. And so it struck me just how blessed we are and how poor they were. But even at best, the people that do work little, they'll pick mangoes from wild trees and sell them, or avocados or fruit, or they'll go help somebody gather wood and make a little money. The average paid worker there may make $300, $400, $500 a year. And that's extremely difficult to feed a family on, much less provide for any of the basic necessities that we have. Began to look at how they cooked, and as I watched them as they cooked tortillas for me, and they cook on an open fire in their house, and the fire burns all day long. And the ladies and the young women and girls don't even have fingerprints because they don't use utensils to turn the tortillas. And I watched them reach into a fire and pull coals out with their hands. Just an incredible, different way of living. Not only that, began to see that the people there lived with a lot of illness. It seemed like everywhere we went, somebody was always sick. So one thing that we began to look at in our church is opening a medical clinic. And about a year later, a couple from our church, one of the ladies, a nurse, they moved to the area there, and we opened a medical clinic, and we see all kind of people come in. People that can't afford any medicine, and there's no access to it there. Even if they could afford it, there really is not access to medical care. And so that was one of the greatest needs that we moved in to try to help with. After making several trips there, I got to see more and more of the needs of the people and got to know them better and build relationships with them and to see what we could do. And I didn't really know what we could do, and so I began to put it out to people that I know, put friends on social media, and people began to respond. We began to help kids with school, scholarships for them. We began to help with the medical clinic. And on a specific trip, we were bringing food to a village that has almost no food, a village of about 2,500 people, and we'd take food to the poorest there and give it to them. But we noticed that they needed a different way to cook because the respiratory issues they were having were beyond imaginable. So I began to research, and we found a product that's built in Guatemala now. It was designed by an engineer with the help of Guatemalan families. and they designed a stove that is an incredible piece of equipment, actually. It's very economical. It's very efficient for fuel. But one of the main things is it takes the smoke and completely removes it from the house, where people don't have the respiratory issues. They don't have as many burns anymore. They don't have to gather wood so much. And all the things that go with that, hernias and arthritis. I saw kids that were 7 and 8 years old walking up the mountain carrying 60, 70, 80 pounds of wood just to be able to feed their family. I saw senior adults carrying wood. One man came to the clinic and he asked the nurse, he said, "My back hurts." She said, "When does your back hurt?" He said, "It hurts every time I gather wood." He was in his 80s and he was having to carry wood up the mountain every day. And so this stove, it's called the Neal stove, and the ministry that kind of coordinated and puts all that together is Helps International. The stove is just an incredibly designed piece of equipment for the way these people cook. It allows them to continue to eat and cook what they eat, but it does it in a way that's safer, it's more productive, it's more efficient. So I got to find where they're built, a small factory in central Guatemala. We went to that factory and looked and began to talk to the people. And now we've established a relationship with them, and we're beginning to purchase those stoves from them. And very economically, not only do they stoves, they also build water filtration systems. And so we've contracted with them, and we buy stoves, we buy water filter systems, and bring them and deliver to these houses of people that are in such great need. It allows us not just to give them something that changes their life, it allows us to build relationships with them and to be able to tell them other things, even better news. It allows us to tell them about the love of Jesus Christ and gives us an inroad to be able to do that. We've seen lives changed, we've seen futures changed, we've seen God do some incredible things, and we're looking forward more and more to doing that. We believe that this stove project is going to be a great opportunity to continue that. In fact, the people there have told us, of all the things that we've done, this is the most important project that we've been able to do, stoves and the water filters.